Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Tom Cherian. I'm a liver surgeon. So today, I wanted to discuss something called fatty liver disease. It's a recently recognized term where fat accumulates in the liver cells. Small amounts of fat is not abnormal, but if it is more than about 10%, then we start to call it fatty liver disease. It is quite common in patients who are obese or fat, and in patients who are got diabetes, especially if poorly controlled, or high cholesterol. And all of these things, unfortunately, are quite rampant in India. What this fat does is, it causes progressive inflammation, and then with repeated damage, liver cell destruction that leads to further inflammation and a swelled up, inflamed liver, what is known as steatohepatitis. So, hepatitis due to fat. This swollen state often has no symptoms, and if we look at this swollen state, which is otherwise known as NASH, which is non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, I suspect up to 10, 15, even 20% of our population above the age of 40 have NASH. And the problem with NASH is, about 20% of people with NASH will go ahead and develop cirrhosis, which is permanent scarring of the liver from just fat accumulation. Most people don't think twice about eating a laddu or even two, but they don't recognize where this fat is going to. As our grandfathers used to say, everything in moderation is okay, but it's when things get out of control, when you're too fat for your height, that's when we have a problem. There is a very nice slide I once saw which says, buy one, get 5 free. You're used to buy one, get 2 free. So, you buy a big belly by buying some more sweets or eating some more rice, and you will get for free blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, liver disease, and of course joint problems, because your joints are not able to stand the weight. So, is this fatty liver disease worth talking about now? I think so. Currently, it is the 4th most common reason for liver transplants across the world. But if we look at the statistics over the last 5 years, fatty liver disease is what has been steadily increasing, and very soon, at least in the developed world, fatty liver disease or NASH will become the #1 cause for liver transplantation. In fact, something that always amuses me is that we are supposed to come from a poor country where many people are below the poverty line, but still we, due to some bad genes, have a NASH prevalence in some countries like Japan, China, India of up to 45% according to some research. And this is not just research. I think when I look back at the 300 odd patients that I have been involved with in the last, let us say, 5 years in India, slowly the percentage of NASH is reaching about 25% to 30% of the patients that we transplant. This, like I said, is fascinating in a country that is said to be poor and underdeveloped. So, let us try and put some numbers to it. If I have to convince you that it is a serious problem, I think it is truly a pandemic. A pandemic is the worst form of epidemic that goes across continents. If I try to put some numbers to it, approximately 25 to 27% of our adult population is diabetic in India. Approximately 10% of these diabetics are going to develop fat-induced cirrhosis in their lifetimes. That means 35 million people in our country alone are going to develop cirrhosis or end-stage liver disease and need transplantation just from fatty liver disease. I think this is particularly sad in a disease that is so easy to prevent. It is just good habits, eating sensibly, controlling sugar, nothing that is too difficult. So, I guess what everybody will want to know is what are the symptoms of fatty liver disease? Unfortunately, the liver being such a wonderful organ, it doesn't actually produce much symptoms until in the advanced stages of liver disease. Thanks to the amazing reserve of the liver, which God created, until about 60 to 70 or even 75% of the liver is destroyed by the fat, there is no other symptoms, and the rest of the liver just carries on coping with the burden that is placed on it. So, because in early disease it is not having any symptoms, the trick is to be aware of the disease, be aware of fatty liver disease, which is one of the reasons I was so keen to talk about fatty liver disease today, and to have a high index of suspicion that if I am fat, if I have very poor sugars, or if my family has got fatty liver disease, after the age of 35, I think it is important to get ourselves checked regularly, and the best test for it, which is painless, is an abdominal or a liver ultrasound. Because remember that once fatty liver disease has reached the stage of cirrhosis, even if you try to lose weight, even if you control your sugars, it's too late and the liver cannot recover. The fascinating fact is that once symptoms start, like ascites or jaundice, which is what we call end-stage liver disease, not just cirrhosis. Only when cirrhosis starts to develop worsening jaundice or worsening water accumulation do we call it end-stage liver disease. Only then do we suggest a transplant. The fascinating fact is, only when about 80% of the liver is damaged and when it is no longer able to sustain life, it is almost at that point that you start to get symptoms. That is both the great and the bad thing about liver disease. Of course, the symptoms of late stages of cirrhosis, almost everybody knows: jaundice, the yellow color in the eyes, yellow skin, itching, water accumulation, bleeding from the mouth, etc., etc. Encephalopathy is a deterioration of the brain that leads to confusion, sometimes even coma, because there is too much of ammonia in the brain because the liver is not clearing it. So, now that we know so much about liver disease, what are the treatment options? And what would you say is a tip in the management? Interestingly, there is not that much tablets or medications that you can have for fatty liver disease. They say that vitamin E, an antioxidant, can help. They say that omega-3 fatty acids can help, but none of them I have found to cause a significant difference in fatty liver disease. What does is significant weight loss and sugar control. Other than that, there is no direct treatments as of now for NASH or fatty liver disease. Eating a healthy diet, maintaining the correct weight for you, avoiding a belly that most of us Indians seem to have, can reverse it in the early stages. And remember that our correct mean body mass index should be less than 23, whereas for the Western population, even up to 25 is acceptable. With these few things, I think it is easy to reverse the liver disease, and fascinatingly, the liver has got probably the best ability to regenerate compared to any other organ in the body.